One of the most iconic lines in NBA history is never underestimate the heart of a champion. And those 90s Rockets teams, they overcame numerous big-time deficits, they were a 6th seed, and overcame all the odds to win back-to-back titles. And looking at current times, the 2024 Nuggets, they also embody having the heart of a champion. As in the second round versus Minnesota, after going down 0-2, the entire sports media, the majority of fans, wrote them off, said it was done, and were tossing dirt on their grave.
Do you believe the T-Wolves are going to sweep the Nuggets?
Hell yeah, I do.
Believe the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to sweep the reigning defending NBA champions.
This series is a wrap. Minnesota is better than the Nuggets. The MVP is getting outplayed. They don't have an advantage anywhere.
The reigning three-time league MVP is not even the best player in this series.
They outplayed them, they out-toughed them, they punked them, and I expect the same thing to happen for Game 3.
And look, I do understand it, being down 0-2, losing the first two games at home. That is a massive hole and a deficit. But the media's eagerness, their kind of jump to write Denver off, it was quite peculiar, especially considering they're NBA champions. And looking at that TNT crew, if anyone should know this, it's Charles Barkley. As his Suns teams back in the day got up 2-0 versus the Rockets when the first two games in Houston still lost the series, and the next year up 3-1, and again lost the series. But looking past Charles, the guy eating the biggest slice of humble pie is Shaquille O'Neal. As after Game 2, when Jokic got his MVP, Shaq just kind of went off the deep end, told Jokic to his face that SGA was the rightful MVP.
But I want you to hear from me first. I thought that SGA should have been the MVP. That's no disrespect to you. I'm not happy with this one. Based on everybody's criteria, my criteria, stat stuffer, you guys' criteria, number one seed, which team has a better record. I felt Shai Alexander deserved it.
That clip right there has a chance to go down as one of the biggest backfires in NBA history and the most infamous takes from a former NBA player. And for Shaq specifically, when it comes to all-time great centers, rising superstar centers, this guy since the early 2010s has always hated the next generation. Whether it be Dwight Howard, Andrew Bynum, or anyone back in the day who was dubbed the next Shaquille O'Neal. And when it comes to Joker, of course, having 3 MVPs to Shaq's 1, that might rub Shaq the wrong way, as Shaq notoriously says he was quote-unquote robbed of numerous MVPs. And being the hater of great centers that Shaq is, the Joker being down 2-0, at that moment, it probably something common sense. I can trash the Joker, not get much slack for it. He's down 2-0, not gonna win the series. Now, unfortunately for Shaq, his comments were the turning point of the series. As in Game 3, the Joker had 24 points, 14 boards, 9 assists, 3 blocks, and 3 steals, and a 27-point victory. Game 4, a must-win game, he was even better. 35 points, 7 assists, 7 boards, on nearly 60% shooting. And then Game 5 back in Denver. You win this game, most likely you win the series. What did the Joker do? 40 points, 13 assists, 7 boards, on 68% shooting, with 0 turnovers. If you want to talk flawless games, one of the most clean offensive games I've ever seen from a superstar, this right here, it might be it. As looking through NBA history, only Chris Paul in 2018 had a 40-10 game with 0 turnovers. Long story short, one of the best big game performances I've ever seen. And if they win Game 6, win Game 7, this Game 5 performance will go in the Louvre of Nikola Jokic all-time performances. And when talking about Jokic's mentality, his attitude, I mean, there's really not much insight to it. Much like Tim Duncan, kind of stone-faced, close to the vest, don't hear many sound bites or just quotes in general from the Joker. But one thing that is universal for really any all-time great player, superstar player, is a competitive drive that can be kicked up 2 notches by media slander or doubt. And look, I can't help but think Shaq's comments entering Game 3 had a big time boost to Nikola's performances. I was looking at Game 1 and Game 2. 24 points, 12 boards, nearly 9 assists, 42% shooting. I mean, look, numbers-wise, still great. but for Joker standards, that 5.5 turnovers, not gonna cut it. But looking at games 3 through 5 after the Shaq comments, I mean, it's damn near flawless. 33 points, 9 boards, 10 assists, 60% shooting with only 2 turnovers. The first 2 games of the series, the Joker really being awful for his standards, pulling complete 180, winning 3 straight games, is just highly impressive and the best basketball I've ever seen. And for all the Jokic critics out there say he doesn't play defense and negative on that end, Jokic in games 3 through 5, 2.7 steals, 1.7 blocks. If you're talking about a modern day NBA center, the Joker does everything on the basketball court. And one quick side note I do want to throw out there, looking at that TNT crew, Chuck and Shaq, the guys who wrote Denver off wrote the Joker off. For games 1, 2, 3, and game 4, they were on the crew, on the call, post-game and pre-game. But ironically, game 5, the most pivotal game of the series, which the Joker won and played fantastic in, these guys weren't in attendance and conveniently were absent from the call. Coincidence? Probably so, but not great optics. And one last thing I do want to touch on when it comes to Shaquille O'Neal. Of course, an all-time great player and in my personal top 10 list. But if you want to talk, I guess, perfect offensive players, the perfect basketball player, Shaq in a lot of areas was a 10 out of 10. But his Achilles heel was the free throw line.
That is broken out here at Staples. Oh, playing.
For the Joker, late game free throws, 3-point shooting, just shooting in general, is not a problem. Look at 2024, his fourth quarter scoring. 7 points per game, and from the free throw line, 90%. 2023, his championship run. 7 points per game, 85% from the line. And even 2022, only one first round series, he was perfect from the free throw line. Now looking at prime Shaquille O'Neal, the peak of his powers during the three-peat, his fourth quarter free throw shooting was absolutely abysmal. 2000, below 50%. 01, below 50%. And even 02, 62%, which is well below average for an NBA player. Shaq, unlike the Joker, had major offensive flaws in his game. As really outside of 10 feet, not a great offensive player, and at the line, absolutely abysmal. So I think seeing someone like Jokic, who can shoot the three, the mid-range, a great passer and free throw shooter, kind of rubs Shaq the wrong way and has him thinking, damn, if I worked harder, I could have been this, could have been that, could have been a much better player. As look at the all-timers, people who didn't reach their peak, their potential, Shaq wasted a lot of his prime, compared to someone like Joker, who came into the league, no expectations, and exceeded them at every turn. In a lot of ways, Jokic is the anti-Shaq. So that right there is the end of the video, and once again, if Denver wins this series, one of the biggest all-time backfires for Shaq, Charles, and the NBA media in general. And I hope to God Denver pulls it off and once again shoves it in the face of the NBA media. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.